paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Fun thing, we're talking about how Brainstorm Brewery outlived Channel Fireball.
That is fucking crazy. We got to talking recently about the oldest Magic content that still is in production.
The
We're one of the oldest for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Evan
It
Irwin.
came up because we were watching. I brought up the Cedric Phillips Storm rant from Game State. Do y'all remember this? This is like an iconic Magic video, in my opinion. Game
Cedric
State podcast.
Phillips. No, I don't remember this. Go ahead.
So it was Glenn Jones, Jorbs. Glenn Jones, I believe, works for Marvel Snap now after a stint at WotC.
Correct.
yeah.
Jorbs, who I don't know what they're up to, but
Forbes is still streaming.
He still does
Jorbs
the
is a
streaming.
streamer.
Forbes is a
Cedric's
bro.
now lead of play design at WotC, and Adam Ragsdale, A Winner Is You, is
I remember
assume
his
still
name.
Canadian.
I remember his name.
Those four did like a weekly metagame, like talking about competitive Magic podcast back in like 2011, 2012. For reference, in the video, it starts off with Cedric saying, like, Merfolk is busted in Legacy. Like, Maverick is the best deck. Why are all these people who are just playing, like, oh, you play...
Oh, I
Blood
remember
Ritual,
this.
I'll play
Yeah.
Dark Ritual, you're dead.
Yeah, I know
I've
this.
heard this. Yeah, I've heard
And that
this.
was like, 14 years ago or something.
And welcome into Brainstorm Brewery, everybody, which I'm learning, thanks to this conversation we've been having, is in fact one of the oldest continuously produced pieces of Magic content around. That's crazy to think about.
No,
One
we
of.
skipped a week 2 weeks ago, so we're
That
fucked.
doesn't count. Shut up.
We're-
skip
Tripped
more
at the
weeks?
finish line.
I knew we were like
we
600
rested on
something
our
episodes
laurels
in.
for Christmas and Hanukkah, and now we're into the
Over.
gutter.
It's over. That's crazy to talk about. We were having a conversation about how Channel Fireball, got bought by TCG Player, which got bought by eBay, and now I don't even know what really is happening with CFB. And it's like, wow, did Brainstorm Brewery outlive Channel Fireball? And that just somehow might be true, and that's weird. So I don't know what. Like, think about it. What could be the oldest continually produced piece of Magic content? Like, surely there's been a podcast or two going longer than us, more or less weekly.
Do Mike Flores' incredibly self-indulgent tournament reports count?
He does write. I edit them, and they are Mike Flores articles. They read just like Who's the Beatdown.
They are classics for a reason. They are entertaining to a fault.
Yeah, they're hard to follow sometimes. Yeah, I'll say that. It is
I'm
very
sure
much
that there is
Tygon
somebody
era.
out there. I am sure that there is somebody out there who has been in the trenches since Lorwyn. Somebody who is more autistic than all of us combined, just hammering away at a complete no edit, just record, stream, rip it, hit the publish button, and Apple Podcast, like 16 views across like every single week since the Bush administration. Like that, it's got to be out there.
There's got to be someone whose content is as old as the Bush administration. That is probably true.
That's the line, isn't it? Because when was this podcast? Like 2013?
I think it was early 12.
Before that.
Oh no!
I remember listening to Brainstorm Brewery when a member of the cast recommended that we buy Thalia, Guardian of Thraben on Moto.
Yeah,
As like a
Ryan, that would be a Ryan move.
My litmus test for remembering this podcast's early days is like freshman year of college, which is 2012 for me, and listening to Return to Ravnica picks.
Oh man! Yeah. Well, I looked on Twitter. March 2012 is when we created the Brainstorm Brewery account.
That sounds correct.
So 13 years now, yeah. So I'm very curious if anybody out there, let us know in the YouTube comments if you're watching there. Look, somehow this podcast is still getting made thanks to our patrons at patreon.com/BSB. I did not ever think about the fact that we may have just accidentally screwed around and became one of the oldest bearers of Magic content. That's crazy to me.
We are an old ship, but we are an old ship of Theseus for sure. Like, the podcast has changed a lot.
The podcast has changed a lot. I think this actually hit me today, since Jason isn't here today. I guess technically I'm the only surviving host of the original show, But even that, Jason technically came on in like episode 8. And maybe that's something I'm just going to roll with now. This is going to be a piece of Brainstorm Brewery.
And
lore that
Jason
goes
has
down.
been on more episodes than you, let's be clear.
Probably.
Yeah.
Jason didn't miss an episode for his first kid. You did, like...
Oh, look, and I missed episodes on some of the years when I was traveling 25 weekends a year for
I
sure.
was traveling those weekends too. Cowards
I
can't
had a
block warriors.
child. I had a child.
DJ, when did you join the podcast? What year?
2016.
That's crazy.
Right when
The
I had a
fact that-
kid.
The fact that I listened to this podcast when I was like, I think in my first year of college, and the fact that I'm on it now and that I'm so over it that I want to be done with it every week is awesome. That's how you know you've made it.
Yeah, for sure. Look, also part of this, by the way, is that the pandemic was 5 years ago, starting next month. So we are 1 month shy of the 5-year anniversary of the pandemic. And it's so easy to just be like, oh, yeah, it was just a few years ago. No, it wasn't. It was a really long time ago now when it started.
They talk a lot about fake it till you make it, but they don't talk about fake it till you can't take it anymore.
Fake it till you can't take it.
That's my strategy.
That's really good.
Fake it till you can't take it is an episode title.
Oh my gosh, it sure is. That's a great one. Wow. That'd be good for our SEO, which leads us into our first segment of the day. Where we talk about this is what brought this up. Welcome into the show, everybody. We're going to talk some Magic Finance now. The card Jacked Rabbit, in addition to being just a very funny card and meme and everything, has gotten really expensive. I looked on TCG Player just now. It is $17 to $18 if you want a copy of Jacked Rabbit. But this is the interesting part of this. Should you instead want a copy of the extended art Jacked Rabbit, ostensibly the better, more extended version of the card, you can get it right now for $12 on TCG Player.
When did it start climbing in price? Was it? It was like end of December. I
End
wonder
of
if
the
there's
year,
any
yeah.
comments.
End of December.
So this card was in the newest update of the Moto Cube, and it's quite good in the Moto Cube. I wonder if there's any coincidence of this card getting exposure via the Moto Cube, and people going to buy it for their commander decks because they see Caleb DMTG playing with it on stream and making eight rabbit tokens and killing his opponent.
You know,
they're watching their favorite streamer.
I think you're very likely there's something to that because I write the movers and shakers for TCG Player every week. Go check that out, infinite.tcgplayer.com. And I've written about Jack Rabbit over the last few weeks. And I'm pretty good between this podcast and all my Magic jobs and all my ability to Google things and search for things and use MTGstocks.com. I could not figure out why this card went up in price. And the reason cards usually go up in price and we don't see any reason for it is when it's a content creator thing. Or a cube thing could be the answer because I don't know why this card started.
Isn't Pyrogoyf in the same bucket of like got added to the cube, was busted, and no?
Pyrogoyf, I think, was a combination of that, but also it started seeing play as a 4 of in legacy lists.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I assume is a content creator thing. Like Caleb Durwood was playing with 4 Pyrogoyfs in a deck. You know, that's I think it was a multi-format thing. But this card exclusively, I think, has only seen play in the Moto Cube, really, and people's commander decks.
People were doing Kindred Goyfs and Commander because all the Goyfs spiked around that time.
But like Pyrogoyf was a 4 of in what I think was like the 3rd or 4th best legacy deck before the bans. Yeah, I think that was a part of like the exposure on it was people saw legacy streamers or whatever. In addition to
that would
streamers.
make sense because I literally have spent I spent a long time over the last few weeks looking for a reason for the Jacked Rabbit spike. I was looking on EDH decks trying to figure out what it might go into. Couldn't see anything there. So that could very well be it. I'll add that to my list of things to think about.
For what it's
I'm
worth,
sure I'll be writing about it tomorrow.
I thought of this because I played it in the Moto Vintage Cube and then was like, dang, this card's really good, and then bought a copy for my paper cube. Like I'm the product of this exposure, right?
Yeah, there you go. I mean that checks out. But so the interesting note here is that the extended art version is cheaper than the regular art version, and generally when that's the case, it has to do with cart optimizers and fillers and or SEO. DJ, I know you've got a little more info on this type of thing. What is, for people who may not understand how something like this could happen, what is sort of the background there?
Yeah, I should probably do like a 4-minute video on this just by itself at some point because I know I've done this little bit before. Yeah, that's some COVID era BSB lore for anybody who's curious. But so anybody who orders their deck as a whole unit off of an individual website, through like an affiliate link like Moxfield or Architect or any of these other database websites that let you build a deck and host it, and then just like they'll have a link that says, "Oh, click to buy this deck," and then you click the link and it fills your cart with all the options from TCG Player generally, or Card Kingdom if you're affiliated with them somehow, and then you make it very easy to just buy the whole deck. A few clicks, swipe the card, it's all gone, and then those websites integrations don't generally mesh well with variant printing. So like showcase versions or extended arts or the foils or borderless version, anything that has parentheses after it generally doesn't mesh well with that sort of SEO integration or like any of those like deck builder tools. So when that happens, it's a lot of people clicking buy this deck for whatever reason, and then the supply on the regular one gets drained, and there's not as many eyes on the extended art version, even if it might have fewer supply like copies in the supply, or even if it's like objectively better looking with air quotes, the supply on the regular version will get drained first, and it takes a while for the variant printing to catch up. So that's usually what we're seeing here, is somebody buying a copy through this other like system that leads you to TCG Player and autofills a specific kind of card into your cart.
Yeah, it means that in an opportunity like this, if you're somebody who, for instance, saw Jacked Rabbit on the MTGO Cube and you're not filling a whole list, you just want to pick up the card, don't just assume that the base version is the cheapest version of the card. Because especially these days, there's a lot of different printing of cards, and based on SEO and card optimizers and all that sort of stuff, you can really find big differences in prices on cards, especially cards that are moving in price.
For this card specifically, I do have another theory. And that is that the extended art version does not have the reminder text for the keyword of Ravenous, which is a relatively new keyword. Like, it's kind of similar to Devour, but not really. And like, there's all these other just
Warhammer.
It was introduced in Warhammer, yes. I know it's on Moloch, which is just like Ravenous. The keyword is this creature comes into play with X counters, where X is the amount of mana you pay, and if X is 5 or more, you just get to draw a card for free. So, just very, very powerful linear mana scaling of 1 mana equals 1 permanent power, and then if you have a lot of mana, there's an even bigger cherry on top. But the card's very, very customizable, so like think Walking Ballista, think Hangerback Walker at their peaks. Clearly just a very, very versatile card.
I thought about the flavor text thing, but that would mean that people are looking at both and choosing to such a wild extent to do that. And
I don't think it's that, but it might be a factor.
I thought about
copies.
It also has, speaking of flavor text, this card has great flavor text.
You want to read it?
Squash, what it is and what it does.
He's holding like a big flour sack squash over his shoulder that's about to liquidize the skull of some poor innocent beta cuck rabbit.
Well, this is the Jacked Rabbit, so I understand. It makes sense, sure.
Can we just like get a Giga Chat edit of the rabbit set to some like power metal or something? I'm not your average beta cuck rabbit. I'm an alpha male rabbit.
I'm a Jacked Rabbit.
This podcast brought to you by Manscaped. No, I'm just kidding.
Not anymore. They did sponsor us once. We've really racked up the meme sponsorships through the years, by the way. Manscaped, Squatty Potty, which we still have in my home. Those things last forever. Maybe that's why Squatty Potty's not doing so great.
Corbin, in what situation would that kind of product not last forever? Tell me.
When you have to poop really hard and you exert a lot of pressure down on it with your legs.
Can I get some Brainstorm Brewery lore from the old heads in chat? I have a playmat that I got at a Brainstorm Brewery party, I want to say 2015.
Oh, hell yeah.
Was that the Vegas house?
It was the Vegas house.
Oh, Vegas.
I ended up there, and it's a playmat that says like Red Zone the Kraken. It has our logo on it. Has a Heavy Metal logo on it. Were we ever sponsored by Kraken Rum?
No.
We just used their logo for some reason.
Yeah. We didn't
That's
make
sick.
it. We didn't make that one, but yeah, they had a whole. I think Heavy Metal had a whole thing at the time with the Kraken or whatnot. Yeah, back in the day, there was a whole sort of family of podcasts we were sort of ostensibly a part of. really back in the day at this Brainstorm Brewery lore, we used to host articles and other podcasts on our website, brainstormbrewery.com, which these days spends more time getting hacked somehow than anything else. And I'm not sure how that's possible since nobody uses the website.
That's not true. I have people tell me they use the website.
No, but like they're not like an end user visiting the website isn't hacking the website. Like,
Right.
is JJ responsible for this? Is that like the only explanation here? Because JJ is like the most insane OPSec person I know. Did I use that right? Operational
OPSec.
Security. Yeah,
OPSec.
It's OPSec.
organized play.
He's so overpowered in his secularness.
It's organized play.
No religion.
But JJ locks down everything. Like, I'm like, JJ, go watch the football game on Stream East. And he's like, I can't use Stream East. They have ads or whatever, right? The FBI will get me for watching a stream of the game. So, like, it shouldn't be him.
Corbin, you speaking so lowly of his security concerns tells me you're the kind of person that uses 1Password.
Is the website 1Password? Like the password manager 1Password?
No, I'm saying that you seem like you use just a single password for everything.
Well, that's not
1Password
exactly
the company, which I know is confusing.
Right. So no, that's not
Recognize that I'm accusing you of being poor at cybersecurity, please.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
Not a good start. Not a good start. Here's the thing.
Some websites require special characters and numbers, right, and capitals, but not all of them do. So I wouldn't say that I have 1Password so much as I have a variation on 1Password. Right? Like sometimes you need a capital, sometimes you need a special character at the end, and sometimes you don't, right? So, but yes,
as somebody who's good at operational security, I simply will not talk about my operational security on a podcast in which people can use any of the information I give out to reverse engineer things about myself. Thank you so much.
No, I said special character instead of exclamation point.
If you ever want to get really paranoid about the world around you, just like start looking up information about physical security and how locks do nothing.
Oh, that's also probably really true. But also, here's the thing, man. Not to like dox myself, but like my is unlocked. Like the side, it just is. Okay,
right.
And then guess
all
what?
Locks do
unlocked.
Oh,
all locks do is keep innocent people innocent. Like they don't stop somebody who wants to actually break in.
No, for sure.
There's a bunch of really cool videos of just like guy walks up to Apple Store, pulls out thing from his pocket, points laser pointer in the store, walks in, picks up an iPad, sets it down, then leaves, just like on video.
What is that? Wait, what?
A lot of like the locks and stuff you can like override with a laser pointer on buildings.
I've never thought of that kind of stuff.
There's entire like apartment complexes that use RFID chips to like lock each individual unit, and you just walk in with a flipper, and you're just like, oh, unlock your apartment. Oh, this guy's apartment's open.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You're not supposed to keep your keys near your door anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody can walk by and like basically
like,
copy
skim it. Yeah. You can also just do an RFID blast where it's just like, I'm going to play every sequence possible in this range, and if it happens to unlock your door, great. And if not, I'll do another range.
I didn't know any of that shit, Cass.
Yeah, get really paranoid about the world around you by watching physical security videos. Yeah,
but like, it's also true that, well, from what I understand, that the value of any one person's identity on the dark web, or whatever you want to call it, is actually very low. So like, it's more a matter of not having your like credit card company hacked than anything you individually can do in the year 2025, right? Like, like, yes, there are people out there who use skimmers and all this stuff, but like, you have to like think, why does someone want to come ruin your life specifically? It's just very
the best way to not have your life ruined is to make no nemesis in this world. Having a nemesis is the worst thing you can possibly do. I gotta say, someone with several nemesis, it's not great.
Yeah.
Not great.
It's like It Follows, the movie, You never know when it's going to get there, but it's always coming.
That movie sucked so much.
Never seen it.
It was so boring. I'm gonna get a bunch of horror fans getting mad at me, being like, actually, it was a triumph of the genre. It's like, fuck you. I fell asleep 12 minutes in. Yeah. And then again, 35 minutes in. It sucked.
I actually love horror movies, but
same.
This might be wrong, but like, I feel like some of the newer-ish over the past 10-ish years, 15 maybe, they're kind of like the one with the gosh, the Smile movie, Smile 2. It's like they're going so hard to make like an artistic movie about how the horror of it is actually about this mental health condition or whatever.
But like
that's all like fine. But like
it's possible
at
to
some
make
point,
artsy horror movies and have them be good though.
Right. Well, and I'm not even saying it's bad, but it does become kind of a drag to watch at some point, you know? Right? Like,
I think that there's a lot of really great horror being made because for the first time in a very long time, the genre is being taken seriously.
that's
Largely
true.
due to independent studios ponying up and doing it. Like, I know it wasn't everybody's favorite, but I really loved Nope.
I'm not seeing that one.
Jordan Peele's.
Yeah, no, I wanted to see it. And then, I heard kind of mid things on it. That was the one where they were in the desert.
Well, yeah, they were like on like a ranch. Movie was like, 6.5, 7 out of 10, totally middle of the road horror movie, but it had all of the vibes of John Carpenter's The Thing, and so like to me it was enhanced by that. Like it was sort of like a spiritual. I hate the term spiritual successor, but like it was evocative of something familiar, something familiar, but also told a new story a little bit. And like I don't know, the fact that you can have something referential but also not, I think is cool. And it didn't. Horror used to be so simple. It used to be so just like, here's the guy, he's killing people. I don't know. Yeah,
and I like horror movies too, where like people can live. It's so dumb, but like sometimes it's like these people are like it feels like now you like not. I don't want to be like back in. It's not like that. It's just some of the horror movies I see that are made and they're like well done movies or whatever. It's still kind of like not a lot of suspense. It's more like let me see how they did their horror movie as opposed to like I'm interested in the plot of this horror, if that makes sense, I guess. Because like I don't ever want to go watch Smile 2 again, right?
No, I mean that movie was bad.
But like, but it's just I
don't know.
Not they've worked so hard to be something deeper and meaningful and whatever. It's like sometimes you lose a little bit of what actually made the genre fun. Some of them, obviously,
you have to make the movies deeper and meaningful, but you also have to make them entertaining.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the best horror movies are both.
Right, and it's a response to the Freddy vs. Jason era of just absolute embarrassing movies, but fun, but fun.
I think I talked about this recently with a friend of mine. How like the horror genre has kind of gone from something that you put on for like the 16-year-olds go to the movie theater to make out and watch,
yeah,
to now being like an actual type of movie, which means you also have talentless wannabe auteurs making horror films instead of just like guys who want to make good movies. I stand by this. One of my hottest takes is that the best movies are just a good romp made by somebody who knows what they're about. Pacific Rim is a perfect movie. It is not. Yeah. It's not a great story, but it's a perfect romp. It knows exactly what it's about.
Any movie that is made. This is why I think the Sonic movies are so good, because the people who wrote them and are in them, like they just get it, right. They know what they're there to do. And you can make a good movie with like some soul without like while still making a Sonic movie. Yeah. Right. Like, anyway, you can just tell, in my opinion, when movies are made by people who kind of care and know what they're doing. And like the entire Sonic universe, which is now 3 movies and a TV show, has a consistent voice and kind of humor throughout it. Yeah. And I think it's just like compare that to say Star Wars, where they just gave each of the 3 new movies to a different director and they all did different things and everyone hates something, and no one loves it at all. Obviously this is just a corporate America rant, I guess, in the end, but
it always comes down to that, right?
Yeah, I guess everything in life will eventually come down to that.
It's weird too because like they've had good Star Wars stories in the last decade. Yeah, like, Andor was great.
Yeah, well, and like The Mandalorian was well done. Yeah,
the first
season for sure. Sonic stuff's made by Paramount. It's not like Paramount's not a corporation. Yeah,
it's just it's the people involved have to be interested in making the thing they're making, not the studio being interested in making the thing they're making.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, and on that note, everybody, it is time for me to stump these two. It's time for Breaking Bulk.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
And I have one that is guessable this week. Probably more so for Cass than DJ. I don't know if his Roku would be on this one yet. But it's a Bloomborough Green Rare.
Green Rare from Bloomborough?
Mm-hmm. It's a rabbit.
Oh, it's a Paw Patch Recruit. That was my pick of the week a couple weeks ago.
Paw Patch
Yes, it
Recruit
was. It is Paw Patch Recruit.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the 30 of them that I have on my desk that I've been pulling out of bulk.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, there you go, Cass, because it is spiking right now. It is $3 after being $1 when you made it your pick of the week or even lower.
There is somebody who told me they paid $20 for a playset of these on the floor in Atlanta.
Yeah. It's a one
Hard's the
mana
truth.
2/1 in green.
I think NRG had that.
Yeah.
I think that was from NRG. I was across the way from them.
Yeah. They brought a ton of them,
makes sense.
apparently.
Yeah. So it's a 2/1 for 1 mana. So good rate. It has trample, offspring of 2. Where pay 2 mana, and of course you get the 1/1 version of it. And its ability is whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, put a 1/1 target on a 1/1 counter on target creature you control other than that creature. Wow, I wish this card was a Merfolk. Go hard in my hackball deck. This is really powerful, I suppose, as a 1-drop.
Yeah, sure.
Which goes raw, real hard. $3.
Or 5 if you're that one guy.
Yeah, if you're unlucky, or you didn't get them in ahead of time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like if you need them 5 minutes before the GP starts, you're going to pay $20.
I have a Future Sight uncommon that is white, and it has 1 list printing, which I guess doesn't really count. But
Is it the Ivory Mask thingy,
no.
like the mask like copies for each teammate?
I know what you're talking about, but no. This card was in Mystery Booster 2, which doesn't help much at all. But
It's a white uncommon, you said?
white uncommon.
Is it one of the rebels?
No, it is not a rebel, nor it is a mercenary.
Hit me with the base set of the. What is the thing again? I was typing into the spreadsheet.
It is a Future Sight white uncommon with 1 single reprint in Mystery Booster 2. Card is like 50 cents.
The delay one, the one that suspends and then resuspends itself when you cast it.
No.
That's all I got.
I think this is a tough one. I don't
Is
think
this
this is guessable. This is a really DJ ass pick.
Is it the Acacian that makes citizen tokens? I'm just shooting from the hip.
No.
You're thinking of Time Spiral block cards, I know.
This is Spirit and Doll,
Oh,
which is
sure.
a 3 mana 2/1 with Shadow, and it combines the Shadow mechanic with the Forecast ability. So if you pay 1 and a white during your upkeep and reveal it from your hand, you can give any creature Shadow until end of turn. So it is just sort of like a pseudo-permanent unblockability for whatever Voltron commander you choose to play. If your commander doesn't have evasion, if you're playing like some sort of Rafika the Many kind of vibes, even though that's a commander from like 2001, you can just like give any creature just like, this is Shadow, it's not an aura, you can't disrupt it, you can't disenchant it, this is just going to shadow you every turn, and I'm going to kill 3 people with this over the course of 3 turns.
Remember when Temporal Isolation was worth money?
Yeah.
That was a sweet one.
Yeah. Spirit on Doll is like 50 cents. You can buy with the ones you pull for anywhere from 10 to 25 cents. I also have a bonus one because I couldn't pick between the 2. This next one is a Shadowmoor uncommon land.
Is it the white one?
No.
Is it the blue one?
Llanowar Reborn? No, she said Shadowmoor. Right, right.
No.
Mad Blind Mountain?
It is Mad Blind Mountain. It is
Yeah.
a land that lets you shuffle your own library if you have 2 or more red permanents. No reprints on this one, so if you find Shadowmoor...
This was a true dartboard card, right? Like when they're putting effects on these, the white one in this cycle, like puts things back into it puts things from your graveyard into your deck, right?
Under the bottom of your library.
Under the bottom of your library, so you get to do loops with it. In this, they just threw stuff at a dartboard in 2011 or whatever, and came up with you can shuffle your library, but only if you have red cards. It's just terrible.
Well, every card in every land in this cycle is if you have 2 or more of the color permanents.
I understand.
Right.
I understand, but the others did things.
The theme for Shadowmoor is that, I mean, hey, Mad Blind Mountain's great with Sensei's Top. I play it in my one commander deck I own.
Jeez.
Moonring Island, for context, is pay a
That
blue
was
and
pretty
tap it.
bad.
Look at the top card of target player's library.
I had to go look at that one. That one's pretty bad. But the swamp is good. Leech-ridden swamp drains a life. Each opponent loses a life. Like
That one's a win condition.
repeatable life loss. Are you kidding me? These are not remotely.
I believe these might have also been some of the first non-basic lands that have land types.
Yeah, I think.
So they are all fetchable, which is do with like these are all just like baby's first Mystic Sanctuary kind of vibes.
Yeah, that's why the white one's always been good because it would sometimes sneak into loop decks in Eternal formats. Leech-ridden swamp, by the way, $20 foil.
Wow.
Sapseed Forest, I think, is the green one that gains you life.
I was just looking at that. Sapseed Forest, also bulk rare, but also a $8 to $9 foil. You gain 1 life.
Not a rare.
All right, good one.
So I have a breaking bulk that I think we brought up on the podcast somewhat recently. So I also have a second one afterwards that's less juicy, but this one I think is really worth talking about. It's a blue Outlaws of Thunder Junction uncommon.
This town ain't big
Town
enough.
ain't big enough.
Would you like to guess what the direct low on that card is? Direct low is $5.99 now for that uncommon from a recent-ish standard set.
Yeah. I saw the market price on that one jump above $4 yesterday. It's insane.
Yeah. That card is worth something now, which is sick. It's one of the strongest cards in Standard. It's part of multiple different Tier 1 to Tier 1.5 strategies. But now for one that's hard to guess. This is a white Duskmourne uncommon.
Sheltered by ghosts.
No, that one's been worth something for too long for it to be a breaking bulk.
That's been worth a lot of money.
This one's much less exciting, much more modest.
Was that a hint?
No, it was just, I was saying, it's a more modest guess than Sheltered by Ghosts.
I like what you're looking for there, DJ.
Uh,
I'm trying to remember. I've done a lot of. I literally was very recently looking at all the picks in Duskmourne while I went through my collector boxes. Is it the one that return? Is there a return something?
You're thinking of Unwanted Remake? That card was worth $1 on release, but is since now worth nothing.
I have a guess.
What's up?
It's a 4-mana spell that returns an Omniscience from your graveyard to play.
No, that's a rare from Ixalan.
I was close.
No, actually, you were pretty far off because this actually kills Omniscience. It's called Exercise. It's a White Nicholas.
Interesting.
Exile target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. Card doesn't look like a lot, but it has a buy list for a quarter.
Sure.
And so this is your typical bread and butter pick of the week, breaking bulk, which I attached to my pull your $6, $4 to $6, this town ain't big enoughs out of your OTJ bulk. That is a 2-for-1.
Yeah, this town ain't big enough. That's such a recent set too. Like that's almost like you can go down to the local vintage stock for people who have those and start searching through for $5 bills. Like that's a lot for Standard, y'all. Like that is. Like $2-3 cards we see, $5 cards not so much.
The expected value on a lot of standard booster boxes is climbing to the point that
getting close.
If you value your labor at 0, they're profitable to open, which doesn't sound correct to say, but like the way I'm phrasing that is like, oh, if you just want to like crack a booster box and not lose a bunch of money, like that is where we're at right now.
Right. Or in
we're at a point where stores can maybe open boxes profitably for singles.
Yes.
Well, and like if you're someone who just likes to open packs, and if you like talking about valuing your time, like I was sorting cards last night while I was watching Hard Knocks in season, which I was going to be watching anyway. You know, it's like so. That's obviously at some point when you start spending all your time on it, you want to do those calculations. But if we're talking like, hey, it might be good to get a booster box and open it, the value is good for you. Like as a player, you should feel great about that, right? Like that's what you want.
Like OTJ technically is worth opening right now, and some amount of that is the fact that there's multiple uncommons that are worth something to really smooth that number out.
I think that's always like the backbreaker when it comes to standard product being valuable is like, are the uncommons good? Can I consistently hit on this? Because no player and very few stores want to run that calculation of like, oh, Brothers War is technically profitable to open, but it's only profitable if you hit this one serialized card. Exactly. It's like sure, the value is there, but you have to have the sample size of 1,000 boxes to hit it. But in this case, I think the EV is a lot more evenly distributed out.
Yeah, agreed. I would
I'm
love.
checking. I think Duskmourne actually might be one of the best sets to open in
Well, and
standard. Yeah.
Duskmourne's broken in half in every format. It seems like.
Well, it's also just like there are multiple uncommons in that set that are worth almost as much as a booster pack.
Yeah.
Like Shelter by Ghost is worth a pack and a half or
It is
something.
really, it's worth $8 or something. So yeah.
There's
I
like
know,
5 rare lands that are all good.
Somebody I know was able to redeem a bunch of Duskmourne sets on Moto and flip them for a nice amount of money, which is not something we've seen in the Moto economy mixing with the paper economy for a while. Wizards has tried
Yeah,
their
that's what I was gonna say.
absolute best to kill the concept of redeeming a set on Moto for paper.
This may be dumb. I didn't even know you could still redeem sets on Magic Online. It's not even run by Wizards anymore. It's run by Daybreak, but you can still redeem sets.
Yes.
That's cool. That used to be such a big deal.
And like you said, it's not even run by Wizards. The process is like very unintuitive to go through from what I understand, and the shipping times are off the walls, but like
Sure.
I believe you can still do it, and there are certain sets where you can run the numbers and make it worthwhile if you are skilled enough in both of those markets, Moto and paper.
Well, if you remember back in the day, we were doing a lot of lore today, but that used to be a big deal when we talked about standard prices is, when Moto redemption hits, you're going to see a wave come down on this set. Like that was a real talking point on this podcast because it mattered. And I haven't even thought about Moto redemptions in like a decade. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, they kept making it worse and worse and worse and worse, and then eventually they made one that was good. I think Duskmourne is going to go down as one of the strongest sets in recent memory. We've talked about that at length, though.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. I think that the Overlord cycle is just going to be because they're fundamentally broken in that like you just blink them, right? My friend just played Overlord of the something and then blinked it in their Amanatu deck, and you're like, oh, okay, well I guess it just does its thing now, right? Like that's just a place pattern that is going to exist with the Overlords in Pioneer and Modern probably forever.
I played a Modern local somewhat recently where I was on the play, and on turn 2, I put an Aberrant Oculus into play with a Spell Pierce up. My opponent, on their turn 2, impendings Overlord of the Baelmerk, mills Solitude, Solitude's my Oculus, next turn Flicker Wisps their Overlord, gets another thing, has a 5/5.
Wow.
And I just died with a Spell Pierce in my hand after making the best threat on turn 2. Like,
that's a pretty peak Modern gameplay. That would be awesome to commentate. I'll tell you that. It'd be a fun one to watch.
The black-white tap, like, people wanted to play Aether Vial Death and Taxes style decks in Modern for forever, and they've always been terrible. But Overlord of the Baelmerk is so powerful in that shell that it actually just subsidizes all of the other crappy cards.
It is good.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's cool.
Yeah. It's look, there's still the top of the Modern metagame does still seem to be an amount of energy. I'm on team one more ban, but I think we're going to be in a really sweet spot after that.
I will say,
but yeah, Duskmourne has been a huge part of every format it can reach.
Team one more ban should just play the card Meathook Massacre on their sideboard and just absolutely turn the energy players into a fine paste on the ground. They cannot beat that card in a million years. Just like grind them off, like scrape them off your foot like the trash they are. Meathook Massacre X is 1. Kill your board, I gain 7. Your move.
Meathook Massacre, huh? And Modern. I love that.
That was tech against energy for a little bit before they started adopting 4 copies of the One Ring and all the other mid-range stuff. Yeah. It's bad against Flage, but like all your other cards will be good against Flage if you have that in your deck. It's fine.
Yeah. So standard sets, and by the way, we didn't even get to Universes Beyond hitting standard 6 months from. Like, in my opinion, that's going to blow the doors off of anything we see beforehand. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think.
Do you mean in terms of just power level, or?
No, I mean in terms of interest and popularity and maybe prices, but interest. The front page of social media is going to be about people's standard decks with their Final Fantasy cards. Not all of it, but a lot more of it than it was. And like we talked about this with Jason beforehand, you can find it in the after hours maybe if you go to patreon.com/BSB. But we talked about how a lot of the questions you see on, say, Reddit are basically from new players. Like there's a lot of, we talk
Yeah.
about how the Magic player base churns, and it's ironic we've been doing this for so long because our listeners have probably only been here for a couple of years. But the Magic internet, the community churns, it rotates. People don't know what you did 5 years ago. They don't know who you are if you did a bunch before they entered the game. And what that also means is that people don't know a lot of this stuff, right? So standard is going to be the thing these people are into. Whereas before I went to, say, a draft at F&M, and people who came in with Universes Beyond Commander products were like, oh, I didn't know you could draft. I thought we were going to play 4-player pod. I didn't realize it was 1v1.
Yeah.
Right? Those players are going to be, I don't know if force fed is the word, but there will be a pathway to standard that didn't previously exist. And it's just obviously going to keep the interest going, right? You're going to have people's brews, standard brews popping up. It's going to be a big deal, I think.
Yeah. I think that the Foundations... So I've talked about Foundations as a successful product as a way to take the person who got into Magic through Final Fantasy and giving them something actually Magic to anchor them to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foundations is a great product. It's been extremely successful, it feels like. Like, we're seeing to the point that really classic archetypes, say elves, are seeing a resurgence in price in elf commander staples. And there is absolutely no explanation for that except that they put Llanowar elves and focused on the classic Magic creature types in Foundations, and goblin lords are going up in price as well. Like, it's a real sort of, like, you can just see in the data all of these players kind of hitting this thing that we used to take for granted of, oh, elves are popular with casual players. Well, no, they're not until they pick up Foundations. So yeah, and there's just a lot going on. 2025 is going to be a huge year, and you can follow all of it like we do at mtgstocks.com, the number one place on the internet for all of your Magic the Gathering financial data. It is where we get our spreadsheet. It is where we go for trends, including the monthly trends, which you can get if you check out the premium side of the website, which you should definitely do over at mtgstocks.com. It is also the place where we go for our next segment, Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
Sorry,
The third line of the song.
I think this third line of the song is something about it being your fault.
Oh,
It's all Corbin's fault.
no, that's from the vault. Get it right.
It's all Corbin's fault.
It's from the vault. It's like from the vault. If we didn't read your email, it's Corbin's fault.
Which still
My
rings
pick of the
true.
week. My pick of the week was gone for a while. It's been out, but it's back. It has returned. Kozilek's
Is
Return.
that the name of the card? Oh,
Kozilek's Return.
oh wow! The world's best
Seeing play in Modern now in this sort of, we'll call it the Temur Eldrazi deck, really just a red-green Eldrazi deck splashing a little bit of blue. This is a card that has a couple of reprints at this point. I think it's in its original set, which was Oath of the Gatewatch.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just an MH3 Commander and Oath of the Gatewatch. And it's a Mythic in Oath of the Gatewatch. Don't get me wrong, that set has a lot of supply. But that set is also, like 8 years old now? 9 years old?
It's really old. It's really old. And
this card seeing plays a 4 of in Modern is a big deal.
Yeah, and the Commander printing on Modern Horizons 3 isn't probably that devastating, right? Like, there's no doubt that if this keeps picking up, it will go from 250 to, 5, right? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. It's also a really cool card.
Instant speed Pyroclasm for 3, and then you get to the free flashback when you cast an Eldrazi. It fits a lot of it does a lot of work in the decks that want it,
Right, and the fact there is a Modern deck that is trying to play turn 4, 7 mana Eldrazi, clear the board, take over with actual factual world breakers of 4 of in this list.
I love that.
We have a whole new generation of players who will learn it has reach.
A world breaker, as a third line on the card, it randomly has reach.
But the combination of Kozilek's Command plus 2 soul lands for the deck in Ugin's Labyrinth and Eldrazi Temple, and the presence of no Nadu and or the juice versions of energy means that a deck like this can exist again. You don't get aggroed out on turn 3 or turn 4 so consistently by energy, and You don't get full comboed on turn 4 by Nadu at the very latest. You actually have time to tap 7 mana and cast a 7 mana thing that kills a permanent and then clears the board.
Opening up the top end of the metagame is, I think, really important to the long-term
Yep.
health of Modern.
And Kozilek's Return is also the card that's probably the most important against energy specifically, which is, in many people's eyes, the top dog. So,
yeah,
keep an eye out.
All right, DJ, what are you looking at?
I am also looking at a old card that got reprinted in Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precons. Mine has a couple more reprints than that, namely Duskmourne Commander and the List and Secret Lair. But Grist the Hunger Tide is a card that, in so many ways, just breaks the rules of what Magic is and what you're allowed to do with it. You are allowed to green Sun Zenith for this guy.
Yep.
And that cannot be good in the long term for the legality of either card.
Most importantly, you can put it under Agatha's Soul Cauldron and give all of your creatures Planeswalker abilities.
Yes, this card is full of nonsense for rules, logistics, judges. I'm a big fan of cards that just break the game and cards that do not do what any other card in the game does. This is a Planeswalker that is a 1/1 insect for as long as it is anywhere in the game except the battlefield. So you can remove Soul it. You can cast a spell that says counter target creature because it's a creature on the stack, but it's
Green
not
Sun?
in play.
Green Sun for it?
You missed
can
the
green
part
sun
where I
for
said
it.
you can green suns for it, Corbin.
Great. You can Green Sun for it.
You can
Corbin
natural
has
order
also
for it.
confirmed that you can green sun for this card. Don't worry, anybody. If you zoned out for a few seconds and didn't hit the back 15 part of your podcast app, Corbin's got you covered with instant replay of my exact phrasing.
Maybe they were on the spreadsheet that I was, because they went to Brainstorm. They went to patreon.com/BSB to become patrons of Brainstorm Brewery to have access to the spreadsheet where I just typed in DJ's pick of the week, Grist the Hunger Tide, before they're hearing it in their ears. And you know what? I even typed in, you can Green Sun Zenith for it.
Great. This card has a lot of printings. The Duskmourne Commander version is effectively a bulk mythic. Not quite a bulk mythic. It's still a breaking bulk mythic. But it has a lot of different special variant printings, all the way up to the Secret Lair one, which is around $20. I'm perfectly happy with owning like several hundred of these. If I could like have a box of these delivered to my house at like 35-50 cents, I'm probably in for it. Just finding quantity is kind of tough for stuff like this. I'm just a big fan of this card though. It's a win condition, like Cass said. It does very, very silly things with Agatha Soul Cauldron. It breaks the rules of the game. You can green Sun Zenith for it. I don't know. If this card is still a bulk mythic in a year or two, I will be questioning what the design of our game looks like.
It slices, it dices, it moves, it shakes, it does your dishes, it'll give you a reach around and thank you afterwards. It's Grist the Hunger Tide. Several thousand insects on one card. Corbs. Big Corbs. The Corbinator.
Yeah, sorry.
Corbinated soda.
I have a question for you all for my pick of the week. It's relevant. Do you remember how expensive Coalition Relic got at its peak?
Yeah.
40?
40 bucks, yeah.
Something insane. Okay, this is not that. But this is a 3-mana rock that is somehow $10 now and just going up. Glistening Sphere from Irexia, All Will Be One Commander. It is a $10 3-mana rock. When it enters the battlefield, proliferate. Add 1 mana of any color. If an opponent is corrupted with 3 or more poison counters, you instead add 3 mana with this card.
Great.
An extremely good card. Just the fact that it's colorless proliferate is probably driving a lot of this. And it has just ticked up from $7 to $10 over the past 3 months, basically $1 a month. It's going to be 15. It might be 20. It's a really good card. You can actually get the extended art version of this. We talked about this earlier. The extended art version of this you can find for a little less, still available under 7, but it will be 10 as well.
The direct premium on this is 12 for the extended art, and the Card Kingdom has it listed for 11. So
there you go. Market price is $6.98 right now on the extended art and $10.46 on the regular art.
Card Kingdom buy price is higher than TCG low for the extended art of Glistening Sphere.
There you go. That is a great stat. And that's the kind of stats we bring you here on Brainstorm Brewery, as well as our sponsor, MTGstocks.com, where we get all of this very useful data. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast this week. We have events coming up. So, hey, we might be at events. We were talking about maybe even getting together, all of us, at an event later this year. So if you are at a show, make sure to come up and say hi to any of us. If you catch us, Jason will be nice-ish, I promise. And the rest of us will be nice and thankful. So thank you all for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. Remember, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BSB. That is what makes this show possible. We appreciate all of you listeners. We'll see you next week.
Bye.